What's going on YouTube? So Kia unveiled the all-new Kia K5 less than a week ago, yet surprisingly, here I am standing next to one already on sale at dealerships. Now for those of you who don't know, the K5 is going to be the successor to the Optima, and Kia is hoping it can cannonball into the midsize segment the same way that the Telluride has. Of course, we are super excited to be among the first in the nation to sample this new K5, so special thanks to Cartown Kia, and without further ado, let's get to it. Now, of course, we've got to start off this review with the brand new exterior because it is so eye-catching. Up here in the front, Kia has really done a great job making this look super aggressive, a lot more aggressive than the old Optima was. And that starts with this really wide tiger nose grille. It's got the latest rendition, but it looks a lot more aggressive than in other Kia models. As you can see, it has the mesh finish that does go all the way out to underneath of these headlights. And then on most of the trim levels, it's going to have this kind of gray finish, but if you choose the GT line, it's going to actually have a high gloss finish like that upcoming GT model. Also, if you choose the GT line, the lower fascia is going to be a bit more aggressive as well. But coming over to the headlights, these are what really set the design off. You're going to have standard full LED headlights across all of the trim levels. These are reflector LED headlights. You can get optional projector LED headlights if you want. But the really eye-catching feature, of course, are these really cool looking daytime running lights. They have the cool, what Kia calls heartbeat design, and they're finished in that new signature amber color like the Telluride popularized. And then finally, the last thing to mention for your lighting is going to be LED fog lights on the GT line only. Now, squatting down here at your wheels, Kia does nicely include standard alloy wheels across all the models, and here on the EX trim level we have the 18-inch alloys with the really cool gray contrast design. And then coming up here to your mirrors, you will have standard power adjustment and body color and heating, and also if you choose anything but the base trim level, you'll also have blind spot monitoring.
Now the Camry, Accord, and Sonata have a lot of style in this midsize segment, but I have to say with this new Kia K5, this even brings it to a new level for midsize sedans, because this really, from the side and the rear design, you can't even really tell that this is supposed to be a midsize sedan. And a lot of that has to do with the sportback styling that Kia has thrown in. It kind of reminisces the Stinger, so that's definitely a good thing. And as far as the really cool design touch that you're going to notice, it's this chrome piece that goes all the way from the side, and then it blips all the way around the rear and then connects with the other side, which really gives it a flowing and cool design. Now, as far as the other features back here, we are going to have partially LED taillights. These are the newest Kia design. They're full length and have the little dash design, which is really quite neat. And then dropping down, we do have fake exhaust on this EX model. If you go for the GT, you will get dual chrome exhaust as well as a nice spoiler up top. Now, Kia is going to throw in the vast majority of safety systems standard on this K5 model. So you're going to have all of them besides for adaptive cruise control until you get to that EX trim. Now on that EX trim, you can also get an option package that will throw in advanced forward emergency braking as well as rear auto braking. Well, we've seen the absolutely crazy exterior styling for this all new K5, so now let's go and hop on the inside, see all the value they put in there before we take it out on a spin.
So walking up to this all-new K5, Kia does nicely include their smart entry system, as well as remote start on the fob for all but the very base LX trim level. And then to get inside the vehicle itself, there is not a sensor behind the handle, so you'll just press the black button. All right, and taking our first peek inside of this cabin, I have to say it really makes a nice first impression. Definitely has a lot of the sophisticated design from the Telluride. Now this K5 actually arrived so early that we do not even know what interior color combinations are available on the different trim levels, but we do still know the materials at least. So on your LX and your LXS, that's where you're going to have cloth seating. The GT line will come with a cloth and leatherette combination. And then here on this EX trim level, that's where you'll have full leatherette. And turning over here to your door trim, it also has a very nice look to it. As you can see, the armrest is covered in matching leather with the seats. We also have piano black accents that go all around the window switches. We have leather trim across the top. And here on the EX trim, we also have a very realistic feeling faux wood accent. As far as your windows, they're going to be one-touch auto up and down for the driver and the passenger. And then coming down here to the seats themselves, these are going to be 10-way power adjusting on your top 2 trim levels, 6-way manual adjusting on your lower 2 trim levels. Now, like I already mentioned, this is leatherette, but I have to say it really has a nice and realistic feel. I imagine most people actually won't be able to tell this is leatherette versus real leather. Now, like I already mentioned, this interior definitely has a strong resemblance to the Telluride, which is certainly a good thing, and we also have really nice materials to back it up. So the only spot on the upper dash that's hard touch is going to be right above the gauges. However, all the rest of this is soft touch with a stitching detail. Dropping down here, we have generous use of this wood trim. Like I said, this is actually faux wood, but it's really realistic even in the way it feels, almost like open pore wood. Down below that, we have some more soft touch plastics. And then down at the bottom, this is going to be hard touch, but everything in here does fit together extremely well and seems certainly well built. Now on all but the very base model, you will have push button start. And once she fires up here, you will be greeted with the typical Kia gauge cluster design. It is a simple analog setup with a 4.2-inch multi-function display right there in the middle. This is going to be standard across all the trim levels, and at this time, they do not offer the full digital gauges like you find in the Sonata. And then coming back to the steering wheel, of course you have electric power assisted steering. You will find a nice leather wrap steering wheel on both the GT line as well as this EX trim level, and on those same 2 trims you can also option on heating. This of course has the newest Kia design, and it is manual tilt and telescoping across the range. I am also noticing that we have new switchgear on board as well. Alright, so this is a family sedan, so let's go ahead and move into the important aspect of interior storage. So starting out underneath our center console here, as you can see, this is a really large storage bin, tons of space, nice felt lining down at the bottom, as well as a 12-volt outlet. And when we put it to the test with our coupons, looks like we can fit those in there no problem. We don't even have to fold them or anything, so that's very impressive for a midsize sedan. Up in front of that, we actually have a wireless phone charger, so you slide your phone through there and it actually goes under and clips in. This is going to be standard on the EX trim, optional on the GT line. We've got our 2 cup holders, and then up in the very front here, we have another gigantic storage area, great for sticking your phone, as well as a couple more USBs and a 12-volt outlet. Now coming back to the shifter, this is the same shifter you'll find on most of the Kia Stingers. So you pull back for drive, you bump over here to the left if you want to do some manual shifting. However, you will not find any paddle shifters. And then when we go into reverse, you will find the standard backup camera across all the models. As you can see, we do have active trajectory, and we have parking sensors on this EX trim level. Now it is worth mentioning though that there is no 360-degree option at this time, and there is also no smart park function like you find in the Sonata. And then back behind the shifter, all models will come with an electronic parking brake as well as a brake hold button. Okay, so now back behind that, you're going to notice a few more buttons. This one's for your drive modes. You have several drive modes. We'll talk about that a little later in the video. But what I'm impressed to see is that we actually have ventilated seats on this model, which stickers for under $30,000. So that's certainly a very impressive feat. These are going to be standard on the EX trim level, and then the 3-stage heated seats, those are going to be standard on EX, optional on GT line, as well as the LXS trim level. Alright, so now let's jump on up here to our climate controls. This is another impressive standard feature because Kia actually throws in dual zone automatic climate control standard across all the models, even the very base trim level. And as you can see, operation very simple. You have 2 large knobs and all your buttons are located physically right here in an ergonomically friendly way. Alright, so our next destination is going to be our audio systems. So what Kia throws in for all the trim levels is going to be a 6-speaker sound system, and then there is going to be a 12-speaker Bose premium sound system offered as an option on the top trim levels. However, we've got the standard system, so let's go ahead and sample it. I'm very impressed by this bass sound system. Definitely has plenty of like thump to it. Like I said, even though this is the standard 6-speaker sound system. Alright, so now that brings us here to the infotainment systems. Now you're going to have 2 different options as far as screen size. This is the standard 8-inch display, it comes on all the trim levels, and there is an optional 10.25-inch display available. Now this is pretty much the typical Kia Yuvo system. However, there is one big and important change that's worth mentioning, and that's the fact that you have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto on board this year, and for all of the trim levels, even the very base model. That's incredibly impressive. Most luxury vehicles don't even include wireless Android Auto, and some of them don't even include wireless Apple CarPlay. And I think this is the first mainstream vehicle to do so. Now, I'm not actually going to demonstrate this today because my phone is a little bit too old to make use of this system. However, you can still use a wired connection, and if you have the 10.25-inch display, you have to use the wired connection. Otherwise, the other things to make note of is the 10.25-inch display that includes integrated navigation and split screen abilities. Now, jumping on up here, we've got a manual dimming mirror. And then up at the top, we have another really impressive feature. And that is this panoramic moonroof. That's right, a pano moonroof on a vehicle that stickers for under $30,000. Very impressed to see that. It is standard here on the EX trim level, and it is optional on the GT line. And also this sunshade is crazy fast.
So hopping around in the Kia K5's rear seat, of course this is a really important part of any midsize sedan, and Kia does a really good job back here as well. So as far as the space is concerned, you're going to come in at 35 inches of rear legroom, 38 inches of rear headroom, which does place it slightly behind some of the competitors like the Camry and Honda Accord. But honestly, I feel like these specs are lying a little bit because behind Drew's seating position, I have about, I would say, at least a foot of space. My feet can easily slide up underneath the seat, so I'm really not noticing that it's going to have that much less space than some of the competition. And as far as what features Kia has thrown in, we do have vents here in the center. Down below that, we do have 2 charging USB ports. Those features are going to be on the EX and GT line. And then as far as the full armrest, that does fold down. You have cup holders inside, and Kia is not offering heated rear seats on this K5. Now walking up to the trunk of this K5, you will notice one of the features, and that is the hands-free smart trunk that this vehicle offers. It's going to be on all but the very base model, which is something that this class of vehicle really does not offer, except very rarely. Now as far as the space itself, you're going to come in at 16 cubic feet, which places it right in line with that of its competitive set. It's actually identical to the Sonata. And as far as the features they've thrown in back here, we do have a carpeting along the floor. If we lift it up, there is a spare tire. And of course, you can also fold your seats 60-40 split. Now, as far as your seat, it is going to be manually adjusting on this model. However, you can get an optional power on the EX. And then in front of the passenger, we have a good-sized glove box. It is dampened. And as far as how the coupons fit in, you will be happy to know that this is about the same size as my Elantra, so you can fit quite a few in there. And I know if you buy a Kia, you're value-oriented, so you'll definitely appreciate that. And then up in the top, we do have a mirror as well as a light, and you can also detach it as well as extend.
Okay, so there we are. That was our first acceleration up to about 50 miles an hour in this K5. So of course this is the standard engine, because that's what's going to be offered in the original batch that comes to dealerships. So this is the 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, 180 horsepower, 195 pound-feet of torque. So those are good power figures for the standard motor in this segment. Power definitely feels nice. Definitely good torque as well.
Yeah, the torque is probably what you're going to notice the most about this engine. Some in the class do offer more horsepower standard, but this has more torque than most of them, so it's pretty much balanced out.
That's right. Now this of course is related to the Sonata, but there's a lot of differences between them. And one of them is that you cannot get the naturally aspirated 2.5 liter 4-cylinder like you can on the Sonata. This just goes straight to the 1.6 turbo.
Yeah.
And then of course, the big news is of course the GT model.
Yeah.
That's coming later on in the fall. But 290 horsepower from a 2.5 liter turbo. Yeah. So really nice power figure.
That'll be the one you really, really want, but you're going to have to wait a little bit to get that. It's not going to be out at dealers just yet. You know, but now that we're up to speed, this K5's mission, you know, it's a mid-size sedan, and its mission is going to be mainly to keep your family comfortable on long road trips. You know, if you choose not to have a Sportage or something in that class, then you still need to have a lot of room and comfort for your family. And I have to say, very impressed with what this K5 is doing. We're cruising around 50 miles per hour right now, and just listen. It's pretty uncharacteristically quiet for a mid-size sedan. We just did the Toyota Camry like a few days ago, so we can definitely compare to that. And as far as the noise level, we're looking at 55 decibels. So it's not just my hearing. It definitely is quieter than a lot in the class, and it has a very luxurious ride as well.
Yeah, it really feels solid. You know, this new N3 chassis, it's really nice. You know, it does a great job. It's just feeling really solid, really premium. Like you said, it has good ride quality and control at the same time.
And yeah, another thing that I do want to point out is that compared to the Camry's base engine, this 1.6 liter turbo is going to be so much quieter. So, you know, if you're comparing this to a Camry, that 4-cylinder is kind of loud, it makes noise into the cabin, and this 1.6 liter turbo pretty much just blends into the background.
Yes, definitely. Just like we've found in the Sonata, this is one of the quietest options in the entire class. Like, you can put your foot all the way down and you're not going to make this get loud and like annoying and thrashy. You know, it's always subdued and blends really nice in the background no matter how you're driving. Now what you're hearing as far as the shifting, that's going to be an 8-speed automatic transmission. That's another nice thing that I think a lot of you guys are going to appreciate, because you do have that traditional automatic versus the continuously variable transmission, and a lot of the competition, as well as the lower priced Kias, you know, so if you go for the Rio, the Forte, the other sedans in the lineup, you will have the continuously variable transmission. But if you go up to this K5, there you go. You got the nice 8-speed automatic, really smooth, really nice operation. I'd say it's probably a little bit smoother actually than in the Camry, which we were driving again recently, and we drove several times before. So really no complaints as far as the transmission is concerned.
And as far as your drivetrains, that's going to be another area where this K5 offers something that most in the class don't. This one as equipped is front wheel drive, so I will just go ahead and say that. But you do have the option of getting all wheel drive on the LXS and GT line trims with the 1.6 liter turbo engine. The Camry just now added all-wheel drive. The Legacy has it, as well as the Optima, but really it's an increasingly rare thing in that segment, and people are looking for that extra peace of mind. So it's definitely good that Kia has thrown that in on this all-new K5.
Right, and Sonata doesn't have it at this time, so that's another distinguishing feature to keep in mind if you're shopping between the two of them. And it will be available later on in the fall. You won't be able to get it in the first batch of cars.
Alright, and now it's airball and slam dunk time for this new Kia K5. The slam dunk, we came up with this one. Kia Tellurited this K5. They put a little bit of Telluride in this because it just really blows out the competition in terms of the feature set, the pricing point, just the availability of certain things that just the class really doesn't offer. It's really quite, I don't even know what to say. It's just very, very impressive what Kia has done with this new K5.
And for the airball, it's a little bit tricky to come up with something, but the thing that probably could bother you the most if you're shopping with this is just that there's some features the Sonata has that aren't on this K5, even though they are siblings to each other, so it seems a little strange that we're missing, for instance, the digital gauges, a 360 camera. Those are a few things that I think that, and maybe they will eventually come over from the Sonata, but you know, I guess it adds a little bit of differentiation, but I still wish they were available on K5.
And lastly, we're going to mention the fuel economy for the K5. So the front wheel drive 1.6 liter turbo is all we know right now, and that's what we have right here. So that's going to either be 32 or 31 miles per gallon combined, depending on what trim level you get. This EX is rated at 31 combined. I assume maybe the lower trims would be the 32 combined.
I'm going to go ahead and mention the pricing because there's not really much to talk about. Surprisingly, we actually have this K5 before Kia has released official pricing. So that's really strange, but we don't have the pricing except for this exact one. So we can tell you what the sticker on this is, but we can't really tell you exactly what the pricing is. We'll make sure to add it to the description though once we find out.
Emailed Kia corporate, and hopefully they'll get back with us so we can get the official pricing as soon as we possibly can for you guys. But this EX is going to come in at $27,990. And then the cargo mat is $95, carpeted floor mats are $155, and then the destination charge is $965. So this one, as tested, you heard me right, is coming in at $29,205. So it's under 30 grand. I mean, I don't even really know what to say as far as that pricing is concerned. It's pretty absurd for what you have in this cabin, for the feature set, the luxury. It really best almost everything in the class. I mean, it's hard to come up with anything to complain about, and it's cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, if you're in the segment looking for a car, you just come check out the K5. I think you're going to really like what you find because, like Mason said, it's just so much. And plus, sticking with the traditional Kia value quotient, it's really hard to find something to complain about.
Well guys, that's going to conclude one of the first in-depth looks at this all-new 2021 Kia K5 EX. If you made it this far in the video, I know that means you enjoyed it at least a little bit, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.